Hi, everyone. So we are ASB Pearls 2021, and right now we are just doing a quick panel to kind of answer some of your questions, and I'm going to have some of our panel members go ahead and just introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Dorian Dorch, and I'm a freshman accounting major from Cleveland, Ohio.
Hi, my name is Courtney Williams. I'm a junior journalism major and administration of justice minor from Fairfax, Virginia.
Hi, my name is Miriam Mulugeta. I'm a junior mechanical engineer major from Prince George's County, Maryland.
And I am Zaria Maloney. I am a freshman nursing major from Fairfax, Virginia, and I'm just kind of going to be the moderator here today. So, our first question is, what made you guys choose Howard?
I can answer that one. What made me choose Howard was I live in Northern Virginia and Howard is in DC. So I appreciated that it was close by. What also made me appreciate Howard and made me ultimately choose Howard was I have lived in a predominantly white area for a very long time. And so transitioning to that HBCU environment was something I was really interested in. That and a lot of family members that I have that either went there or have friends that went there were telling me how, they went there in year whatever and how much they loved it and how their friends were still talking about it and how that experience was still impacting them. So I thought it'd be very beneficial for me to kind of get out of the get out of the bubble that I was kind of used to and transition to a new environment.
For me, it had a lot to do with the culture of Howard, the history, and the legacy, but most importantly, the financial aid packet. I think that Howard doesn't get enough credit for how much money they're like able to offer first generation students or like students who, typically when you apply to other universities, you're kind of at a disadvantage. Like Howard does a good job at meeting you financially, like where you need to be met.
My reason for choosing Howard is really similar to Courtney's. I kind of went to a predominantly white institution like the entirety of my life. And I didn't really know that much about Howard. And my mom was like, you should just apply, just apply. And then I'm like, okay, I'll apply. And we went and we visited. And then the stuff that Howard offered, like HUASB, like if it went, how it was supposed to be and we weren't in lockdown, like they paid for us to help volunteer people. And I thought that was really cool. And just seeing how all the buildings are named after all these historical people really like hooked me. And then just walking around the grounds and they just like, I feel like the yard where they have, I forget what it's called because we didn't go freshman year, so we didn't get to see it where like all the stuff happens. And that just really enticed me because at first I just didn't know exactly where I wanted to go. So I applied to Howard, I applied to Xavier, and then just Howard like caught me the most.
Those were all great responses, guys. So, going off of that, what do you guys like most about Howard? And how do you think the pandemic has kind of changed these experiences?
Um, what I liked most about Howard is when you are on campus. I don't know, the energy you feel when you're on campus is something that I feel like can't be matched. Like there's just always something going on. And I think that with the pandemic, it kind of, mm, I don't know, it's nice to still be that we have the resources that we do to continue with online school, but at the same time it's just like there's certain things that you can't get through virtual. But I always appreciated when I was on campus how it was just so lively and just how everyone just felt so connected and how everyone I don't know how everyone's kind of feeding off of each other's energy.
Yeah, there's nothing like Howard in the spring when you see people double dutching on the yard and just popping out. um, I guess my favorite thing would be the solidarity that you have in like every single room. Like you're no longer just, the one Black person in the room or the one person that's experienced all that you have. Not saying that like we all go through the same thing, but it's like no matter what space you're in, no matter what room you're in, there's someone there that understands you, that respects your existence, and you don't have to validate yourself. Like you can just be whatever. Like you don't have to be a stereotypical Black person. You don't have to have like you can wear colored braids. Like you can do all of it, like the whole, 9 miles and all that stuff. And on top of that, I feel like that still exists when you're on campus and when you're off campus because Howard is just such a big community. Like it really is a family. I don't know if you guys have Twitter. I don't know how young you guys are, but Howard's Twitter be popping off like every other weekend. And like there's just always that sense of community, whether you're in person or virtual.
I think it's a little difficult for me because I haven't been to campus, but like they said before me, I didn't know what to call it before, but the activities, yes, and then that energy, like when you guys said it, I realized like there is that sense of community, that sense of like a home away from home. And then because of the pandemic, we never got to like, make it. But I still can feel like Howard is doing all it can to like still create a community, still create a collectiveness, you know? So I think that is what, I hate about the pandemic that I didn't get to make it, but I'm hoping we can go sophomore year and experience all like the greatness Howard has to offer.
Definitely, definitely. And so next, what do you guys maybe hate or just kind of dislike about Howard or just college in general?
I dislike the difficulty that comes with, I just don't like online classes, and I don't think that's a fault of Howard. Like, it's really difficult to, pay attention and stay off your phone during online class. So then I find myself having difficulty like catching up because I might miss something in class because I'm on my phone, which is a fault of my own, but it's still like online classes doesn't make it any easier for you. And yeah, I don't think that's a fault of Howard, just school in general right now.
I think what I don't like about Howard sometimes is you really have to be on top of what you need because especially when we're on campus, things get lost, people don't do stuff on time, people don't sign where they're supposed to sign, and you just kind of have to stay on top of what you need, and sometimes you have to put in a little extra effort to make sure that things get done in the way that they're supposed to. Um, but we love Howard, so we forgive them.
To add to what Courtney was saying, that's called the Howard runaround, and it's very much real. You definitely have to I guess this goes for like all colleges, not just Howard. You have to be able to monitor yourself. You have to be responsible, and you have to realize that, no one's going to do everything for you anymore. Like that's high school, when your counselor was writing your letter of recommendation, that's it. Now you have to go out your way. You have to get to know your professors. You have to be able to like approach these other people and have conversations. Like you have to be able to like know what you need, know who to get it from, and just stay on top of your stuff. Another thing about college that I didn't like earlier on was just the I don't want to say peer pressure because it wasn't peer pressure. It was more so like just I don't know like a good way to phrase it. Like it's just the environment where a lot of people feel as though they have to be a certain way. I want to say that that's definitely not true. Like, I don't want people to go to college thinking that they need to change themselves. No, like, you're welcome as you are.
Our next question was a pretty common question. How do you all feel about how kind of Howard has given you all financial aid, and do you think that applying for financial aid was easy?
So I don't necessarily remember applying for financial aid. I probably did, but I have not been a freshman in a minute. So I don't remember necessarily the process for applying for financial aid, but I I kind of agree with forgot who said it, but about Howard not getting as much credit as they should for how much financial aid they do give. Because that just off the bat, I believe a lot of people, more people than not, get some type of financial aid from Howard. So I don't necessarily think there's that many people who are just paying it all forward. But I know personally for me, just off the bat, I'm on like 2 different financial aid things. And those were things that I don't even remember applying for. And then I know that if you're in an honor society, for example, I'm in the School of Communications honors program. And so that also gives me financial aid or a stipend. So I guess it depends.
I can answer that. So when you fill out your FAFSA, your financial aid for Howard's filled out at the same time. So like when you finish sending your FAFSA, like you put your school information on there, and then they send those documents directly towards Howard, and then Howard kind of matches it depending on your family's income and different factors like that. So it's not like another process that you have to do. It's all one process. But another thing that Howard does financial aid wise is that they have a donors list. So a lot of Howard alum are just people outside of Howard like to give back to Howard. So pretty much like every semester they'll like email you a list and you just kind of fill it out. It basically asks you what race you are, what your major is, and like depending on what these donors are looking for, they'll match you, and then like you can get up to maybe $5,000 or something depending on the donor. So it's not a hard process. You just have to make sure you have your times right and you're checking your emails.
Okay. I think mine is I'm not gonna lie, my mom helped me fill out my FAFSA, so it was a little easier for me. But I do think Howard does give back with the aid. I remember earlier in my freshman year, they were giving out HU grants or HEART grants, like for people who had family contributions lower than a certain amount, and you got back to up to, I believe it was $1,200 based on what your family gave you. So that right there was a plus. I didn't even expect it or that was going to happen. And similar to what they said before, they do have that donor list, which I just applied for, which was super easy. So if you need help, Howard will go through the links to help you.
Our next question is, how do you all think that middle school girls can start preparing for college?
I would definitely say never underestimate the power of your grades. I think there's a lot of people, and not even just middle school, but high school as well, especially freshmen and sophomores that are kind of like, oh, well, my grades don't really matter right now. But the thing is, middle school helps you prepare for high school. The habits you develop in middle school will carry on to high school. And when you first start high school, what your GPA it's not necessarily going to be like doomed if you don't have a good GPA. But if you develop those good habits in middle school, carry them on to high school, and then establish a good foundation with your GPA, and then maintain it your junior and senior year, I think that's very important. I know that definitely helped me.
Mm-hmm. I would say definitely start learning about yourself. Like, I feel like when you're in middle school, you spend a lot of time trying to make friends and all that stuff, and that's great. But spend time to get to know yourself and to learn what you're interested in. Because I feel like, earlier on, like, I guess for me personally, middle school is when I realized that I liked art, that I realized that I like photography, and that's something that stuck with me all the way to college. And another thing I would say is start doing community service or like taking part in different outreach programs now, because they make a whole lot of difference when it comes time to like look at your college applications. So like someone who's actively participating in like helping their community, that takes you a step ahead of everyone else that you're competing against.
I really think they said it best. They said both what I was gonna say. Well, the grades, because I didn't know if I was going to get into Howard because I didn't really have a lot of my grades were good at, let me say that, but I didn't have a lot of clubs and stuff like that. So something that I would do differently, or that I would advise you guys to do when you reach high school, is to maybe join some clubs and, you know, broaden your horizons, because I feel like I kind of messed up with that because I'm still a little shy right now, and I feel like if I did some clubs, I'd feel a little better about where I am in college right now, which is why I'm doing HUASB, to kind of like meet some new people. And yeah, grades are a really big thing. I've spoken to people that I know, aunts that have already went out of college, saying that they thought, freshman, sophomore year didn't matter, and and then they didn't get into the college they wanted because they didn't take it seriously. So always know that your grades matter and that you have to kind of, I don't want to say push yourself past your limit, but just make sure you have a steady beat. If you need help, get it. And then just, I think you can just achieve whatever you want if you just put the work in.
Okay, our next question is, how do you all feel, kind of, what do you think is the difference between being a high schooler and being more independent in college? Do you feel like it's different being on your own? How are you guys feeling about that?
I'm a freshman right now, and I definitely think they they do not prepare you for the workload in college. It is way different, and I'm just like, I wish they, I don't know, it's just a lot more, and you really, like high school, you could maybe get away with doing assignment the day that it's due, but college you have to schedule and you have to plan out everything that you're going to do. Otherwise, you're not necessarily going to be where you want to be, or you're going to find yourself trying to catch up to the workload. So I think that, like Courtney said before, just like um, kind of develop those skills before you get to college. Just know that you will have to schedule and plan out your life a little more than you would in high school. And that's really it, I think, for me.
So I think my high school prepared me for the academic aspect of college really well, because for me, going from high school to college academic wise was an easy adjustment. But in terms of personally, I I feel like I kind of lived in a bubble almost. And then when I went to Howard, that bubble was popped. And so it was kind of like a shock to me at first, because all of a sudden I was like, okay, I'm here with people that I don't really know. I'm here in an environment that I'm not really used to, with a culture that I'm not really used to, because being surrounded by people that look like you, and then being in a and then growing up in a space where you're the only one, it's a major cultural difference. um so I think that you kind of have to accept the fact that when you transition from high school to college, that it's going to be a bit of a struggle, but I think you have to embrace the growth.
For me personally, academically speaking, I had more work in high school, but it was really bad. My teachers were not the nicest people, but it was pretty easy to transition because when I was in high school, I was taking courses that were pretty much the same that I'm taking in college, just like at a more excelled level. So if you can sign up for like AP classes or IB classes, definitely do that earlier on just to get a taste of what that's like. Or if you can do a role, I don't know if the high schools in Cleveland do that, but that's definitely something I should check out. Social wise, I found that a lot of people tend to fall off your freshman year because of the newfound freedom that you have. Compared to in high school, in college, nobody can make you do anything. If you don't want to wake up for class, you don't have to. And that can either make it for you or break it for you. Like, you have to have your own resolve to be able to do it. You have to have, like, that work ethic to keep you going and keep you on top of all your stuff. And you have to like actually want to be in college. Like, you have to actually want these things for yourself, because no one's going to be there telling you to wake up. No one's going to be there telling you not to go out with your friends during school. Like, no one's going to stop you. So you really have to be able to like keep yourself in check.
Could I add to that? I think that for a lot of people, there's almost like a fall from grace period, because if you were doing good in high school, then sometimes you're like, oh, well, I'm gonna go to college and it's all gonna be like, if you were involved in a lot of stuff in high school, all of a sudden you might get to college, not be involved in anything, see everyone else involved in stuff, and then just be like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing anything. And you might feel a certain way about yourself. So I think definitely having to realize that you're in a different place, and wherever you're at is fine.
Definitely. Okay. Our next question. 1 second. What is kind of any advice that you want to share to these high school and middle school students? Do you guys have any more advice? Kind of, it can be anything related to Howard, anything related to college, just kind of what do you guys wish somebody had told you before coming to college?
This kind of adds to what Courtney said. Don't feel like you're in competition with everyone else. Like, you're not running the same race. You're not. Like, you're in your own lane. You're doing your own thing. Don't feel like just because someone else is doing something that what you're doing isn't good, or like what you're doing isn't good enough. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to get from point A to point B, and that journey is different for all of us. It could take me 5 or 6 years to graduate, and that's okay. It could take the next person less time. And don't feel like you have to always, like, don't feel like you have to be like someone else. Don't feel like, you have to get straight A's, or you have to, or just because you don't, you're not good enough. Like, look at college like a journey, because that's really what it is. Like, it's a time for you to grow as a person, a time for you to learn about yourself, and a time for you to kind of like have an idea of what you want to do. So, focus on you. That's like that kind of captures all of it.
That was definitely some great advice. Our next question is, what is social life? Oh, sorry. Did you want to go? Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's
Oh,
fine.
okay. Sorry. Okay. What do you guys feel like social life is on campus, and how do you think that's kind of changed during the pandemic?
So I am actually part of an organization on campus, and I'm kind of used to us hosting events, going to other people's events, and just hanging out with people. and just, being just something as simple as being in the library and seeing other people, and virtual learning. I'm just be honest, I never have the motivation for that. I think the Zoom burnout is quite real, and I think in a way it's kind of it's made not only my motivation sometimes decline, but it's made my social capacity decline sometimes, especially in a virtual space. So I feel like, yes, yes, you can still be social, but you have to find a way to do it when you're doing virtual learning.
So I wouldn't say I'm a social butterfly, but I definitely I like to talk, if you haven't noticed already. So when we were on campus, I was having the time of my life. I was always just talking to new people, and it would just be like everyone I talked to is different. Like I would go from like going to art shows and talking to those people to like then going to the yearbook and talking to everyone there, then going to sport. Like I was all over the place. And now that things are virtual, you have to put more effort in to talk to these people, because like now there is no common meeting place. There is no like just events to, well, there are events to go to, but like you're not seeing them. So like I know a lot of the organizations on campus put a lot more effort in to hold these virtual events, but I'm not gonna lie, sitting in front of a screen, you can't really have those one-on-one conversations that you can have in person, or you can't really be as expressive. And that burnout, that is real, because I know some days I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to talk to nobody, my camera's going to be off today during class. So I get it. But definitely like try and follow these pages, and like once you're in college, try and follow these organizations online, because a lot of them do have social media pages and do have like emailing lists. So definitely look into that when you're in college.
I have yet to reach the campus, so I can't really speak on the social life there, but it does sound really, really nice when you guys talk about it. Um, but yeah, I think it's just the same as what everybody else is saying. There is definitely a Zoom burnout. And then like when you have to wake up and have classes from 9 to 5, just 5 and after, I sometimes feel like don't talk to me. But that's not necessarily a good way to look at it. But yeah, I do. And I think it's a lot more difficult for me. Like I said, I was already a shy person. And then all you really have, or all I really have right now is like the group me's, and people aren't really, it seems like they're not necessarily looking for friends, more like just something to talk about. Like just talking about your classes more than talking about, oh, hey, well, like, how's your day? So I did think that's like a little bit more difficult to meet and find new people as a freshman. I'm hoping like we get to campus and that'll completely change. But as of right now, I find it a little difficult.
Okay, our final question is, does Howard live up to its reputation as a party school?
I could speak on this. So every college is a party school if you look at it that way. If you're coming to college with the mentality that you just plan on partying, that's what you're gonna do. So if you come with the mentality that you're gonna be about your books, that you're gonna study, focus, that's what you're gonna do. Like it's definitely a city school. You're definitely in close proximity with like a lot of other activities that you could be doing. If you want to hang out with people, you have that capabilities. But Howard is really what you make of it. Like if you come in with intentions to party all your freshman year, I promise you it's not going to work out. So although you have that ability, although you could be partying every day, like that is an option, just know that Howard is a university. It is a place of learning, and you're paying for your tuition. So don't just try and party all day.
I think that sometimes HBCUs in general just get kind of the label of party school thrown at them. But I think, well, first off, I'll clarify. If you want to go to a party every night, you can. Do I recommend that you go to a party every night? Absolutely not. Um, but I think that you just you have to balance. Everything is a balance. So you have to balance work, you have to balance fun. And I think that there's always something going on campus and off campus, but you also have to have like the discipline um to know when you have to get your stuff done. And also, yes, college is very expensive and you are paying for it. So yeah, don't waste the opportunity. Don't waste the money.
Okay. Does anybody have any last words for our ladies before we wrap up?
So I guess this is just another thing to add to like that social aspect when you get to campus. There is an organization for everything. If you want to join an academic club, if you want to join a language club, there is room for everything. So definitely, I would say when you get to college, try joining an org that's focused on your major, and then another one that's just something you like. So I know for me personally, as an engineer, I do engineering without borders, and then on the side, I do the yearbook. So do it make like try and like that balance comes in. Let me rephrase that sentence. That balance really comes in where you're doing something for your academics, but you're also doing something that you're passionate about and that you can look forward to every week, even when the course load gets hard.
I would say that you are going to grow and get to know yourself so much and understand that that is a process that is not always easy. And there are times when you're going to doubt yourself and doubt your abilities. But I just think that you always need to recognize that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And, there's going to be a lot of uphills. And just as soon as you think, okay, everything's good, I'm going to start going, I'm going to start, it's going to get easier. It might get a little harder. And then you're going to have to really push yourself through a lot of those hard moments. But just know that once you do that, you're going to become a person that you never thought you could be. And you're going to feel so proud of yourself once you get past all of those obstacles. And I think with Howard, especially, because there are many challenges of Howard sometimes, I think that once you're able to get through that, I think it instills I don't know, there's a certain amount of that you always hold with you. Just knowing that you have the ability to do things that you never thought you could do.
I would just say, like Courtney said, there are a lot of difficulties or hard times, at least for me right now with Zoom, that's already like a challenge in and of itself. But I would just reiterate that you're not alone and Howard is a community. So if you need help, you can ask for it. And your professors will understand that, not even just necessarily during COVID, just in general, they do have an understanding that life is difficult for people, whether it be from COVID or from internal like personal struggles. And also not Howard, Howard is a community, but also know that you can use your family or your friends as your support system. Like just know that you're not alone and you just have to use your resources to help you. Like don't ever, sit by yourself and feel like you can't do anything or this is so difficult. It is difficult, but you just, like I said, you have to use your resources. You have to understand that this is a community, that we are all going through hard times and that we're all going to try our best to, help each other out. Yeah.
Okay, that was great, everybody. And this concludes part 1 of our panel discussion for our Pearls Girls.